Hello and welcome to the 2019 ADP training. My name is Caitlin Escatiola. I'm one of the payroll specialists here in the payroll and finance department, and I'm going to be providing this quick demonstration and slideshow of some of the pending changes for the 2019 year, kind of giving you guys some examples of what to expect, and hopefully addressing any questions and concerns that may or may not arise during this transition. If you have any questions that are not addressed during this presentation, please send me an email or give me a call. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about what's changed. So again, y'all should have received an email about the changes in the new policies, but effective the first of the year, which means period ending 1/15/2019, hourly employees are no longer going to have access to making self-edits to their time cards. And what this means is when you are reviewing your time card, you're not going to be able to fill in missing punches or update your department. You're not going to be able to do any of that anymore because the time and attendance module is now closed. Employees are responsible for clocking in and out through one of the three means: biometric time clock. This is for our Long Beach staff, Carson staff, Martinez staff. If you have access to a biometric time clock, that is your first means of clocking in and out. Some employees may be using a workstation computer to clock in and out depending on your site, and other employees might have been set up with mobile access. This is for certain sites only. If you do not have access to clocking in and out through one of the above means, it's your responsibility to reach out to payroll and to have this corrected. Payroll and human resources are not going to be entering hours on behalf of employees, and paper timesheets will not be accepted. Employee's responsibility. It's the employee's responsibility to clock in and out at the start of their shift, during unpaid lunch breaks, and at the end of their shift every day. Excessive and reoccurring missed clock-ins and inaccuracy on time cards will be monitored and subject to disciplinary action by management. Employees must communicate all time card edits through ADP via time card notes. Examples of how to do so are going to be provided during this demonstration video. All time off requests must be submitted in ADP. Requests will be routed to the assigned time and attendance supervisor for approval. Time and attendance supervisors are responsible for overseeing employees' hours are complete and accurate. Must approve or deny all pending time off requests timely and within the current pay period. Must read through and acknowledge all communication of employees made to their time card notes and make the requested edits as necessary. Must ensure the correct home department and job type are assigned to each employee for each shift worked. Must clear all exceptions on their employees' time cards. Must approve their employees' time cards regularly, no later than the close of the current pay period. And down at the bottom, we have a little snapshot. It says the current pay period. This is what it looks like on the top of everybody's time card. And managers and supervisors have the option of approving their time cards for their staff members during the current pay period. And again, that needs to be done every pay period. I'm going to go ahead and have us jump into ADP. It'll give us a better glimpse of the changes and what to expect as an employee going in. So just give me a second. Okay, so when you log into ADP, for the most part, everybody's home screen looks the same. You have My Time, Company Spotlight, Company Events. My Time is where you'll go to have a quick link to your time card. Some employees might have the option to clock in and out from their home page. Again, this is for certain sites only, and those are for employees that do not have access to biometric. If you have access to a biometric clock, that needs to be your means of clocking in and out. It will not be accepted for you to be clocking in and out from a workstation computer if you have access to a biometric time clock. And we also have Company Spotlight. This is where we put our payroll reminders. It'll always have the current pay period, the date payroll is going to be processed, and when the next pay date is going to be. Under Company Events is where we have our birthday list. So right now you can see our January birthdays. And I'm going to go ahead and use this quick link. I'm going to click on my time card. This is going to be the focal point of our training for today. Now, historically, when you've gone in on your time card, you've had the ability to edit punches. So let's look at Friday 1-4. It says that the punch in is at 8 a.m. and there's no out punch. So I see this little red question mark, but I can't do much about it. It's not letting me fill anything in. That's the change that has been made with the new year. Employees are no longer able to make their own edits. So let's talk about what to do in this situation. If I was this employee and I clocked in on Friday, but I forgot to clock out, what I have to do, and it's my responsibility to now leave a note for my manager or supervisor, let them know what time I left, let them know why I was missing a punch, and ensure that that communication is done so through ADP so that my time and attendance supervisor can make the necessary changes on my behalf. Let's talk about how to do that. So again, sticking with Friday the 4th, if I wanted to add a note, I can come over here on the left-hand side. There's 3 little options. And if I click on that, I see that I have an option to add note. Now it's giving me the option to add or edit note because there's already a note here. If I hover over it, I can see what it says. It says I was off at 4 p.m., forgot badge upstairs. So that's exactly what you'll do. But let's just go in and modify that note, just kind of edit it. So this is what it's going to look like when you click on add note. And so you can kind of leave your reason here and then just click OK, and then we'll see that blue little post-it appear. And when your time and attendance supervisor is reviewing your hours, they'll see that you've left a note for a day that you have a missing punch, and it'll be their responsibility to review that note and to add in that missing punch as necessary. So we see that there are some other notes that are already made on this time card. Let's go over to Monday 1-7. It says cover for Jason worked at Chevron Richmond. So as an employee, you do not have access to updating your department. If you are working at a different department for the day or for the shift, whatever it may be, it's your responsibility to communicate that to your manager, and you will be doing so through ADP notes. So again, you come over here, click add a note, and leave a note, who you're covering for, where you're working, click OK. Now there's a little blue post-it. I'm going to come down at the bottom and hit save. If you don't hit save, that note will not be there when your manager is reviewing your hours, and those edits will be missed. So let's talk about what to do when you've missed punches for the entire day. Let's look at 1-3, for example. There's no in punch, there's no out punch. And if I'm trying to come over here and I leave a note, I see that that option is grayed out, so it's not something that I can do. Again, missed punches are subject to disciplinary action. It should be avoided at all costs, but in the instance that, maybe your internet connection was bad or you didn't have your badge that day, whatever it may be, if you do need to leave a note and it's for a day that you don't have any real punches, you're going to have to come to the first tab of your time card. There's 3 little gray lines here, and if you click on that, you'll see that you have the option to add a note. Now this one already has one, and it says worked on 1-3, left badge at home, was here from 8 to 4 p.m. And then you hit save. So now I can see that there's this note that the employee has left, and when a manager is reviewing my hours, they will be able to see that note and make the changes, add in the hours for 1-3 as necessary. Okay. Really, that's the only change that's been made. So we are reverting back to the old way where all time card edits and communication needs to be done through ADP, and it gets routed to your time and attendance supervisor. Employers are not going to be making those edits themselves. If you're not sure who your time and attendance supervisor is, I did leave some notes on how to figure that out in the email that went out, but since I already have you here, let's just go over that real quickly. If you go under myself, my information, and profile, at the bottom left-hand corner, it says time and attendance, and then right here we see supervisor, so it says Martinez Crystal. So Crystal Martinez is this employee's supervisor. So if you're not sure who yours is, you're not sure who to communicate your edits to, or who is going to be the one reviewing them, this is where you can find out. Let's go back to my time card. And let's just kind of run through these other tabs here. So again, that's the only change that's been made. It's just that you no longer have access to editing your time card. But let's just kind of go over some of the existing features that ADP has. So the second tab is the totals tab. The totals tab tells us how many hours are on that time card for the, the current pay period or whatever option was selected above. So it shows 43 regular hours and 8 holiday hours. You also have this option here to show the dollars amount. So kind of gives you an idea of what your gross pay is going to be. Again, this is all before taxes. The third tab is the schedule tab, which is very useful for both employees and management to kind of review what hours were scheduled versus which hours were worked. So if we're looking at 1-2 for Wednesday, for example, it says that this employee worked from 8 to 12 p.m., but they were scheduled from 8 to 4 p.m. So that might, come as something that the manager needs to look into. Maybe, what happened the other 4 hours? Were they PTO hours? Did we ask the employee to leave early? Just kind of whatever it is. Supplemental pay codes, there are not any changes here, so you do still have the option to go in and add in your call time, add in your call patient. I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time with this. This doesn't pertain to too many employees. If you have any questions about supplemental pay codes or in getting in your call time on your time card, please send me an email or give me a call and I'll be happy to answer that for you. Now the fifth and final tab is the time off balances. This is where you can go to review, if you had any PTO or sick hours. It would tell you what your balance is in real time after, whatever is used on the time card for the current pay period. Let's talk about how to make a time off request. So if we go under myself, time off, request time off, we see this monthly calendar. We can kind of, jump throughout the year. Let's say I wanted to request the 10th and the 11th off. The easiest way to do so would be to highlight the 2 days on the calendar and then hit this button here that says request time off. Now it's going to confirm the 2 dates, Thursday and Friday. It's going to ask for the time off policy. If I had PTO, then I would be selecting PTO. It's asking for the number of hours per day, which is, set to 8. But if you are only scheduled 6 hours or you're scheduled 10 hours, this is where you're going to go and make that modification. It's asking for the start time. You have the option of leaving notes. You can say it's a vacation day, maybe you're going to a wedding or a baby shower, and then you can include a respond by date, and then when you submit that, it's going to be routed to your time and attendance supervisor for approval. Now, what's important to know about your time off request is that when they're on your time card, they're going to appear a dark orange color. That means that they're pending. If they're a peach color, that means that the time off request has been approved. If it's approved, that's great. You're going to get paid for it. If it remains a dark orange color and we are processing payroll or the pay period has ended, it means that your manager or supervisor did not go in and approve those hours, and those hours are unpaid. So you do have to ensure that you are making all of your time off requests in ADP and that those are getting approved on time. So if you notice that something is still pending and it's the end of the pay period or we're about to process payroll, it's best to reach out to your time and attendance supervisor and ask them to go in and approve that so that you can get paid and that there aren't any delays in that. So that about wraps up the changes for the 2019 year, but since I do already have this training going, I think it'd be a good idea for me to just kind of show you some of the useful things that ADP has to offer. You'll see this little play button throughout ADP, and if I hover over it, it says that it's a learning bite. So if I click on that, it'll open up a new window. And it says My Time Card Learning Resources. There are different learning bites. Learning bites are short video demonstrations of kind of how to navigate throughout ADP, kind of give you some real life examples. So I see the first one, it says entering a time off request on a time card. So I did already demonstrate on how to do that, but if you forget, you can always come back here, click on that. A short little video will appear and just kind of, give it a demonstration of how to do that specific item. And we also have recording your own in and out times on your time card, printing your time card, approving your time card, etc. So again, that's just a useful tool. You see those learning bites throughout ADP. Let's kind of go back in here. Make sure that I'm still sharing my screen with you. Okay. So back to resources, we have company information, company policies, a forms library. If you're assigned any policies that you need to acknowledge in ADP, you'll do so here. Forms library is pretty useful, especially when it's open enrollment and you're signing up for, benefits. We have tons of informational booklets on the, the medical, the dental, the vision, and all of the benefits that we offer. So if you have any questions or want more information about that, this is the best place to go. Under payroll, we have the employee handbook. We have a quick start guide to PCS. PCS is our 401k provider. We also have our travel mile expense report. So if you are trying to get reimbursed for out-of-pocket expenses, this is the report that will need to be completed and sent over to our travel expense, accounts payable for reimbursement. If I go under myself, I see that I have a personal information. So if I have benefits through the company, I can review my dependents and beneficiaries and make changes as necessary. Pay, this is a little, it's kind of blank right now because this is just a test profile, but if you go under my self-pay, you'll usually have the option for direct deposit and pay statements, as well as tax withholding. So that's where you'll go to view your pay statements, make changes to your tax withholdings, make changes to your direct deposit, etc. Time and attendance is where you'll review your time cards. This is just another way to get there. You also have actual versus scheduled, very similar to the scheduled tab that I showed you already on your time card. It just is comparing your actual hours worked versus your scheduled hours worked. My schedule is a quick glance. You can see it like in a monthly view of what your schedule is for the month. We also have our holiday list on here, and then our attendance. So just some helpful hyperlinks to give you some more information. Under time off, this is again where you'll go to request time off. This is where you'll go to review your balances, and list of requests is where you'll go to review pending requests, things that are still waiting for approval, or just the history of requests that have been made in ADP. We also have benefits. Again, this is where you'll come during open enrollment and kind of review your enrollment. We also have employee discounts that are offered through LifeMart. In my information profile, that's where we went already. In addition to reviewing your time and attendance information, this is also where you can go to make changes to your personal information. Maybe you had a change in address, change in emergency contact. If you click on view more, another screen will appear, and this is where you'll be able to make all those changes and hit save. Now, if you're ever making a change in ADP, such as to your address or to your emergency contact, it's important to know that those changes are routed to payroll for approval. So it might show on your profile as pending until we approve it. It takes between 1 and 2 pay periods. So once approved, though, it'll be reflected on your profile. And that about wraps it up for this training. If you have any other questions, again, my name is Caitlin. Please send me an email or give me a phone call. I'll do my best to help answer and address any of those questions that you have. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later.